The lights of Bangkok shimmer across the river, luxury towers rising from chaos. On January 3rd, 2025, a Chinese actor named Wang Xing checked into one of them, a 5-star hotel overlooking the Chao Phraya. He posted cocktails, city views, hashtag Thailand Paradise. To millions of fans, it looked like the perfect getaway. 48 hours later, he was gone. The story spread like wildfire. Kidnapped, trafficked, sold across the border. Within days, panic gripped Chinese social media. Families canceled holidays. Airlines emptied. And within weeks, Thailand's billion-dollar tourism dream began to collapse. Because what vanished that night wasn't just a man. It was the illusion that paradise was safe. For more than a decade, Thailand's miracle wasn't built on exports or innovation. It was built on vacations. Before the pandemic, over 10 million Chinese tourists poured in each year, spending billions on spas, malls, and beaches that spoke their language. Whole towns bent to their rhythm. Street signs in Mandarin. Luxury buses marked for Chinese only. Entire neighborhoods existed just to serve a single country's appetite for paradise. When the world reopened, Thai officials made a promise. Bring the Chinese back, and everything will heal. They offered golden visas, cheap flights, and a smile that hid quiet desperation. Because by 2024, nearly a third of Thailand's tourism revenue, $16 billion a year, came from China alone. It wasn't partnership, it was dependence. A beautiful addiction that made everyone look the other way. Behind the resorts, rumors were already spreading of scam syndicates, cyber trafficking camps, and police payoffs along the Thai-Myanmar border. But as long as the planes kept landing, nobody wanted to see it. Until Wang Xing disappeared. In that instant, paradise lost its innocence, and an entire economy built on trust began to tremble. Because when your lifeline depends on someone else's faith, one spark of fear can burn the whole dream down. While tourists floated in infinity pools and snapped photos of golden temples, another economy thrived just out of sight. Across the borderlands of Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar, a new kind of empire had risen. An empire built on scams, slavery, and silence. In abandoned casinos turned compounds, young men and women, mostly Chinese, were trapped behind barbed wire. They'd come chasing easy money, lured by fake job offers promising high-paying marketing work in Thailand. What waited for them were cyber fraud factories, endless rows of screens, guards with rifles, and quotas that punished failure with beatings. Thailand called it a regional problem. But the truth was closer, darker, and more profitable. Border officers were bribed to look away. Politicians took donations from the same businessmen who financed these operations. And when the stories of torture leaked online, they were dismissed as rumors meant to embarrass the government. Yet the rumors wouldn't die. Videos appeared of escapees covered in bruises, begging to be rescued. Chinese social media began calling the region Asia's Dark Triangle. People asked, how could this exist in the shadow of 5-star hotels? Because both industries, the resorts and the compounds, fed the same illusion: paradise for sale. One sold the dream, the other sold the deception. For years, the two worlds stayed apart, until a celebrity walked straight into the border between them. And when Wang Xing crossed that line, the whole house of cards began to shake. He arrived in Bangkok on January 3rd, 2025, a mid-tier celebrity chasing his next brand deal. The invitation came through a talent agency that promised a quick shoot and a luxury stay. He'd done these trips before: fashion, lifestyle, easy money. But this one felt different. The contacts were vague. The itinerary kept changing. Still, he boarded the flight. For 2 days, he posted as usual: rooftop drinks, Thai street food, a morning run by the river. Then the feed went silent. His phone stopped pinging. His family couldn't reach him. By the 4th day, panic spread across Chinese social media. His girlfriend's post, "Please help me find him," exploded to millions of views in hours. Hashtags like "Where's Wang Xing" and "Thailand Unsafe" surged to the top of Weibo. That's when reporters discovered the unthinkable. He'd been tricked into crossing the border into Myanmar, into one of those scam compounds built on broken promises. Inside, people said, he'd been forced to work on fraudulent investment platforms. Others claimed he was sold to traffickers who ran the camp. No one knew which version was true, only that China's embassy was now involved, and Thai officials were scrambling. 4 days later, he was rescued in a joint operation. Photos of him at the airport, pale, shaken, silent, flooded every timeline in China. He was lucky. He had fame, connections, and a government that couldn't afford the humiliation of losing him. But as his flight touched down in Beijing, something shifted online. People began to ask the question authorities feared most. If this could happen to a celebrity, what about the thousands of ordinary people who vanished before him? The panic was no longer about one man. It was about everyone who could be next. At first, the outrage felt like sympathy. Millions of comments wishing Wang Xing safety, prayers, hashtags. But within hours, the tone changed. Fear turned to fury. His girlfriend posted again, "You saved him, but what about the others?" It wasn't gratitude, it was accusation, and it echoed across 1 billion screens. On Weibo, influencers warned their followers, "Don't go to Thailand. It's not safe." Travel bloggers deleted old vlogs. Tour agencies were flooded with refund requests. By the next morning, hashtag Thailand Unsafe had crossed 1 billion views. Across Douyin, videos of alleged trafficking victims, some real, some fabricated, filled every feed. A girl crying in a dark room claiming to be in a scam camp. A man with bruises saying he escaped Pattaya with his life. Each clip, whether true or not, reinforced the same message. Thailand is dangerous. Thailand is corrupt. Thailand is next. What started as one man's disappearance had become a national panic. Within a week, Chinese travel agencies began canceling Lunar New Year tours, their most profitable season. Families who'd saved for months decided to stay home. Flights from Beijing and Shanghai left half empty. By February, Thailand's government admitted what it couldn't hide. Chinese arrivals had dropped by nearly 40%. The blow to tourism was catastrophic. Hotels slashed rates to survive. Vendors wept on camera, saying, "No Chinese, no business." All because of a single story. The panic was emotional, irrational, and unstoppable. Even after Wang Xing was safely home, Chinese netizens insisted Thailand was a country that sold people like currency. And in the silence that followed, Beijing realized it didn't need to lift a finger. Fear was doing the work for them. But in the corridors of power, that silence was anything but quiet. Inside Beijing's Ministry of Public Security, the monitors glowed with maps of Southeast Asia, red lines tracing tourist flights, money flows, and missing person reports. They didn't need to issue threats. The numbers spoke for themselves. Within days of Wang Xing's disappearance, Chinese tourists had vanished from Thailand's airports. By the time he was rescued, the fear had already spread faster than any virus. For years, Beijing had pressured its neighbors to shut down the cyber fraud compounds along the Thai-Myanmar border. Now, for the first time, it didn't need to send warnings or sanctions. Fear had done the work for them. Behind closed doors, Chinese officials demanded cooperation. Joint task forces, extradition of fugitives, real-time data access. Bangkok agreed to nearly everything. A nation that once prided itself on neutrality was now bending to invisible pressure. No missiles, no armies, just panic, monetized and weaponized. For diplomats, it was strategy. For Wang Xing, it was terror, the kind that doesn't fade. Because when a single man's suffering can move markets and bend governments, it's no longer just a story. It's a weapon. And somewhere beyond the checkpoints and the headlines, the man at the center of it all was still trapped in the dark, unaware that his disappearance had already reshaped the world outside. At dawn on January 7th, 2025, a white van rolled across the Takorn Friendship Bridge. Inside was the man whose disappearance had sent shockwaves across Asia. Wang Xing stepped out barefoot, head shaved, wearing a plain white shirt. Thai officers met him at the Mae Sot checkpoint, where floodlights cut through the mist. Dozens of cameras waited. He bowed, whispered thanks, and blinked into the flash. 4 days earlier, he'd landed in Bangkok for what he thought was a modeling shoot. Now, he was being escorted back from across the Moi River, from Apollo Park, a scam compound in Myanmar's Mayawati district, where hundreds of Chinese nationals were held captive and forced to commit online fraud. Inside, he later told investigators, he was kept under guard and ordered to shave his head. He was taught to run fake investment scams, beaten when he hesitated, and barely slept. When Chinese and Thai operatives finally located him, he was exhausted, frightened, but alive. At the Mae Sot handover, reporters shouted questions in 3 languages. Wang looked up and spoke quietly in English. "Thank you to the Thai police for saving me." Then, at the prompting of officials, he repeated the words in Chinese and added softly, "Thailand is very safe." No one knew if the line was spontaneous or rehearsed, but it became the official headline, replayed endlessly across Beijing and Bangkok, a public performance of calm that smoothed over the diplomatic panic. Days later, Wang boarded a flight home to China. He walked through Beijing Capital Airport without a word. The young actor who once sold escapism now carried the weight of a national trauma. He declined interviews and vanished from social media. But months later, he quietly appeared on a reality show, Memories Beyond Horizon. Producers asked him to reenact his own kidnapping on camera. He agreed. The episode showed him tied to a chair, pretending to call his girlfriend for help. A dramatization of the very nightmare he'd survived. Viewers were horrified. Some called it brave, others called it exploitation. Wang never defended the decision. He simply said he wanted people to understand what really happens inside those compounds. But the moment marked something larger. The thin line between awareness and spectacle, between survival and performance. Because for Wang Xing, the story was no longer his to control. It had become the property of a billion strangers, each projecting their own fear, guilt, and fascination onto his silence. For Wang Xing, the nightmare ended in 4 days. For everyone else, it was just beginning. His story sparked outrage across Asia, not because it was unique, but because it was proof of something long suspected, that beneath the tourist posters and golden temples, an invisible empire had been thriving, one built on fear. In the weeks after his rescue, Thai police launched a series of cross-border raids. 10 Chinese suspects were arrested, accused of trafficking and cyber fraud, and extradited to China. Officials posed for photos beside seized laptops and gold bars, the sanitized trophies of a crime that ran far deeper than anyone dared admit. Behind every raid, new names surfaced. Behind every arrest, new camps. And behind every camp, new victims still waiting for someone to notice. In Beijing, state media used Wang Xing's ordeal as proof that China protects its citizens everywhere. In Bangkok, politicians insisted Thailand was safe for tourists again. But on Chinese social media, a different story lingered. Videos of victims still trapped in Myanmar, rumors of police collusion, and questions that no government could answer. Because the real horror wasn't the compound. It was the system that allowed it to exist. Across the Mekong, fear had become a kind of currency. It kept the poor obedient, kept officials silent, and kept nations competing for Beijing's approval. Wang Xing's kidnapping didn't create that empire. It only revealed how easily one man's suffering could expose it. Months later, he appeared again, smiling faintly on a talk show, speaking carefully about forgiveness and moving forward. The audience applauded, but his eyes told another story. The look of someone who knows that fear isn't conquered by survival. It only changes shape. The beaches of Thailand still shimmer under the same sun. The planes have begun to return. But beneath the calm lies a silence that no government can control. A silence born from what everyone now understands. Paradise is fragile, and fear travels faster than truth. The story of Wang Xing isn't just about one man's rescue. It's about how a single disappearance exposed a system built on silence, and how fear itself became Asia's most valuable export. Because what vanished that night in Bangkok wasn't just a celebrity. It was the illusion that paradise could ever be separated from power. And somewhere between the headlines and the hashtags, the world learned a new kind of truth. That in the 21st century, fear doesn't need borders. It only needs a story. If you thought this was terrifying, wait until you see how Beijing's empire of fear turned inward and erased an entire crime dynasty it helped create. That story's already live. The Ming family. The crime family China created, then executed. I'm John, and this is Silk Street, where we expose the stories of power, betrayal, and collapse. Subscribe and follow us as we keep unraveling the world's most dangerous illusions.